Zhang Linghe's purple hair fooled everyone, even his own fans' purple hair. Center stage. Thousands of cameras pointed at him, and for the better part of an hour, nobody noticed. Sounds impossible, right? But this actually happened, and it's now become one of the most talked about moments online this week. You know that feeling when you spend 2 hours getting ready, convinced everyone's going to comment on your new haircut, and then you walk into the room and nothing? Not one word? That awkward little, wait, did I imagine putting effort into this moment? Zhang Linghe just had that exact experience, except it happened live on stage, in front of thousands of fans, and got turned into a national trending topic. There's something almost poetic about that. His styling team dyed his hair a deep, smoky purple for this event. Not the loud, look at me, violets you'd expect from a deliberate style statement. Something quieter, more restrained, the kind of color that only reveals itself when the light catches it just right. Under normal lighting, it read as black. Only when he tilted his head down, or when the stage light swept across at a particular angle, did that faint violet undertone show through. Whether that was intentional restraint or just a styling call that didn't quite land the way they hoped, I genuinely can't say. And I think that ambiguity is part of what makes this interesting. Was the team going for subtlety as a kind of sophistication? Or did they misjudge how visible the color would actually be under event lighting? Both readings are plausible, and fans online seem split on it too. Some think the low-key purple was a deliberate, tasteful choice. Others think it just didn't do its job if the whole point of dyeing your hair is for people to notice. Here's the thing about comedy. Timing is everything, and this had incredible timing completely by accident. Fans in the venue were, understandably, distracted. There was a small blue, flower-shaped pimple patch stuck on his cheek that caught everyone's attention first. It became the unlikely center of gravity for the whole look. People were talking about the patch, joking about the patch, and the actual hair color change sat there patiently, waiting for someone to clock it. It took a camera zoom during the live stream for the penny to finally drop. And when it did, the reaction wasn't quiet at all. The comment section basically exploded on the spot. One fan wrote, half in shock, "Wow, I thought his hair was just normal black this whole time, only now I notice." Another admitted, self-deprecatingly, "I was staring at the pimple patch the entire show, totally forgot to check the hair." There were plenty of teasing comments too. D-Hard, fan confirm, also got played, or guess this time we really weren't just staring at his face. That back and forth in the comments is honestly what pushed the topic to trending so fast. Not because the hair itself was that dramatic, but because everyone wanted in on the whole fandom collectively slow joke. What I find genuinely charming here isn't the reveal itself, but what he did with it. He didn't play it cool. He didn't shrug it off with a rehearsed, camera-ready line. He got visibly, almost childishly exasperated. "What are you all even looking at? Why so slow to react? Ah!" In that specific tone people use when they're a little offended, but also can't stop smiling about it. That's a very specific, very human register. It's the tone of someone who spent effort on something and wants it acknowledged, dressed up as mock outrage because admitting you wanted the attention outright feels a bit embarrassing. I think there's a broader pattern worth naming here. Celebrity culture, especially in this industry, runs heavily on curated perfection. Every look calculated, every reaction rehearsed, every candid moment secretly staged. When something goes slightly off script, not badly wrong, just unplanned, it tends to land harder with audiences than the polished version ever could. Consider the physical conditions he was working under. 36 degrees Celsius heat, a heavy 2-layer outfit, over 40 minutes of continuous fan interaction, sweat visibly soaking through his collar. That's not glamorous. That's genuinely uncomfortable work. And yet the moment people latched onto wasn't the endurance or the styling. It was the small, slightly petty joy of watching someone get mildly worked up over, not being noticed. It's a strange thing about attention. Audiences don't always bond over the impressive stuff. Sometimes they bond over the small, slightly silly stuff because that's where a public figure briefly stops performing and just reacts. Something else worth sitting with, he apparently mentioned afterward that the purple was a temporary spray-on, chosen for flexibility across different event themes rather than as a permanent statement. That detail reframes the whole story a little. This wasn't a bold personal choice that flopped. It was a practical, low-stakes styling decision that happened to become a moment anyway. There's something almost unfair about that, in a good way. He didn't try to manufacture virality. It just found him, through a pimple patch and bad lighting angles. I don't think this story is really about hair, or even about him specifically. It's about how audiences respond to the gap between effort and recognition. Something almost everyone has felt at some point, whether it's a haircut nobody mentions, a good outfit nobody comments on, or work nobody notices until much later than you'd hoped. Watching a public figure express that same low-grade, half-joking frustration on camera without any spin control is disarming in a way polished content rarely manages. Whether you think the styling team nailed a clever subtlety or simply miscalculated visibility, the actual outcome, 40-plus minutes of heat, effort, and a color change nobody caught until the very end, turned into something more memorable than a flawless reveal ever would have. Sometimes the stumble is the story. So here's a question back to you. If you were up on that stage and found out nobody noticed 40 minutes worth of effort in that heat, would you go the mock offended, dishing it out on camera route like he did, or would you just let it slide quietly? Drop a comment. Chances are you've had your own put in the effort, nobody clocked it moment too.